The warning lights flashed across Deep Space Repair Station 47's main control room, bathing everything in a red glow. Tom Walker looked up from his coffee mug, his weathered face reflecting the emergency lights. After 15 years of running the Fix-It shop, as everyone called it, red alerts usually meant either pirates or accidents. This time, it was neither. "Sir," called Jack from the tracking station, his young face serious, "we've got an incoming ship. It's big. Really big. And it's not human." Tom walked over to the main screen, his steel-toed boots clicking against the metal floor. The scanner showed a massive vessel, easily 5 times the size of their repair station. Its sleek design was unmistakable. This was a bright starship belonging to one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. "They're hailing us," Jack said, his fingers hovering over the controls. Tom straightened his oil-stained uniform. "Put them through." The screen flickered to life, showing a tall, elegant figure with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer like starlight. The alien's large eyes were a deep purple, and patterns of light pulsed gently across their skin, a sign of distress. Tom had learned from his xenobiology courses. "This is Captain Blue of the Stellar Voyager," the alien's translator conveyed in slightly mechanical English. "We require immediate assistance. Our primary and secondary repair systems have failed." Tom raised an eyebrow. The Bright Stars were famous for their self-repairing ships. Their vessels were practically living things, healing themselves like biological organisms. For one to need outside help was unprecedented. "This is Tom Walker, Chief Engineer of Station 47. We're happy to help, Captain. Can you tell me the nature of your malfunction?" The alien captain's skin pulsed faster. "Our quantum core is destabilizing. The automated repair protocols are. They're making it worse. We've lost 30% of our ship's functions in the last hour." "Permission to dock granted," Tom said immediately. "Bay 3 is our largest. I'll have my team ready." As the massive ship carefully maneuvered into the docking bay, Tom assembled his best engineers. Mary with her knack for power systems, Bill who could fix anything with moving parts, and Pete who understood alien tech better than anyone else on the station. The ship's docking went smoothly, despite its size. When the airlock cycled, Captain Blue emerged with 2 other crew members. Up close, their bioluminescent patterns were even more impressive, though the rapid flickering showed their anxiety. "Please," Captain Blue said, "our ship's consciousness is in pain. The self-repair systems are attacking healthy systems, like an autoimmune disease." Tom nodded, already pulling out his ancient but reliable diagnostic tablet. "Show me to your engine room." The Bright Stars exchanged looks that Tom recognized as surprise. "You wish to physically inspect the systems. Our sensors can provide all data remotely." "Sometimes," Tom said with a slight smile, "you need to see things with your own eyes and feel them with your own hands to understand what's wrong." The engine room was a marvel of technology. Crystalline structures pulsed with energy, and holographic displays filled the air. But Tom ignored most of it, walking straight to the quantum core housing. He pulled out an old-fashioned mechanical resonance detector from his toolkit. "Your sensors," he said while working, "they're part of the same system that's malfunctioning, right?" "Correct," Blue responded. "All ship systems are integrated." "That's your problem right there," Tom said, pressing the detector against different parts of the housing. "Your self-repair system can't see what's wrong because it's looking through broken eyes. Sometimes you need to step outside the system to fix it." The detector made a harsh buzzing sound. Tom smiled. "Found it. You've got a microfracture in the core housing. Your repair system is reading it as a power fluctuation and trying to fix the wrong thing. It's causing a feedback loop." He reached into his toolkit and pulled out what looked to the aliens like a primitive welding tool. "We can fix this in about an hour. Old school way. No AI, no quantum computers, just good old-fashioned repair work." Captain Blue's skin patterns showed clear disbelief. "Our best systems couldn't identify the problem, yet you found it with with that simple device. Sometimes, Tom said as he prepared his tools, the best technology is the one that can't break down. Now, who wants to learn how to spot quantum core fractures using mechanical resonance? The aliens gathered around, their patterns shifting from anxiety to curiosity as Tom began his work. It was the beginning of what would become a legendary reputation for Station 47. Though Tom didn't know it yet. He was just doing what humans had always done best, fixing things with whatever tools they had at hand. The news of Station 47's successful repair of a bright star vessel spread quickly through the nearby sectors. Tom didn't pay much attention to the buzz. He was too busy teaching Captain Blue's engineering team about basic mechanical diagnostics. The trick, he said, holding up an old manual pressure gauge, is understanding what you're feeling and hearing. Machines talk to us if we listen right. The alien engineers watched with their purple eyes wide as Tom demonstrated how to detect micro-vibrations without relying on computer assistance. Their skin patterns flickered with a mix of confusion and fascination. But our systems are supposed to detect all of this automatically, one of them said, their translator making the words sound uncertain. Tom smiled and handed over the gauge. And what happens when those systems fail? Here, feel this. That slight tremor. That's your power core running smooth. If it changes, you'll know something's wrong before any computer tells you. While Tom was teaching, Mary burst into the engine room, her face excited. Tom, we've got another one. Another what? He asked, wiping his hands on a rag. Another alien ship. Different species this time. They say they heard about what we did for the bright stars. The new vessel belonged to the Rock Shapers, a species known for their crystal-based technology. Their ship hung in space like a collection of geometric shapes, beautiful but clearly damaged. Several crystal segments were dark and lifeless. The Rock Shaper captain, who called himself Stone, was more direct than Blue had been. We heard you fix things the old way. Our crystal matrix is dead. No power, no response. Our best technicians say it's unsalvageable. Tom studied the crystal sections through the station's viewport. Mind if I take a closer look? Inside the Rock Shaper ship, Tom found himself surrounded by crystalline technology far beyond human understanding. But instead of being intimidated, he pulled out a simple light from his pocket. "What are you doing?" Stone asked, his rocky features showing concern. "Testing a theory," Tom replied. He shone the light through one of the dead crystal sections, moving it slowly across the surface. "Look here, see how the light bends differently in this spot." The Rock Shapers crowded around. Stone's voice was surprised. Yes, I see it. You've got a break in the crystal structure. Tiny, but it's disrupting the whole energy flow." Tom reached into his toolkit and pulled out something that made the alien step back in surprise. "Is that adhesive tape?" Stone asked incredulously. "Special reflective tape we use for emergency hull repairs," Tom explained. "We'll use it to redirect the light flow around the break, like a bypass. It's temporary, but it should restore power long enough for your crystals to begin self-repair." The Rock Shapers watched in amazement as Tom carefully applied the tape in precise patterns. He worked slowly, checking the light refraction after each piece. It took nearly 2 hours, but finally, he stepped back. "Try it now," he said. Stone activated the crystal matrix. Light flickered, then flowed, and suddenly the dead sections blazed to life. The entire ship hummed with restored power. "Impossible," one of the Rock Shaper engineers whispered. "You fixed a quantum crystal matrix with tape." "Sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution," Tom said, packing up his tools. "Your crystals just needed a little help remembering how to channel energy. Once the power flow stabilized, your self-repair systems could take over." Later that day, back in his office, Tom found Captain Blue waiting for him. The bright stars patterns were showing what Tom had learned to recognize as amusement. "You did it again," Blue said. "You fixed something unfixable with simple tools and understanding." Tom shrugged. Humans have been fixing things since we first picked up tools. We learned a long time ago that fancy solutions aren't always the best solutions. Perhaps Blue's patterns shifted to a more formal configuration. That is why we need you. We've become so reliant on our advanced technology that we've forgotten the basics. Would you consider teaching some of our engineers? Officially. Tom looked out his office window at the 2 alien ships docked at his station. He could already see more vessels approaching in the distance. You know what? He said with a smile. I think that's exactly what we should do. 1 month after fixing the Rock Shaper's ship, Station 47 had become the busiest repair stop in the sector. Tom stood in the control room, looking at the growing line of ships waiting for their turn to dock. They came in all shapes and sizes, each representing a different alien civilization. We're going to need more hands, he muttered, watching as Jack juggled communications with 5 different vessels. That's when the station's new diagnostic specialist walked in. Ann White was fresh from Earth's best engineering school, but more importantly, she had a gift for understanding how things worked, or why they didn't. You wanted to see the weird one? She asked Tom, pulling her long hair into a practical knot. Bay 4. Tom nodded. It's a light weaver ship. Their engine works on principles we barely understand. The Lightweaver ship looked like it was made of frozen smoke, its hull shifting and swirling with trapped light. Its captain, a being that seemed to be made of pure energy contained in the environmental suit, met them at the airlock. Our lightfold drive is sick, the captain's translator crackled. It refuses to bend space correctly. Anne's eyes lit up at the challenge. She pulled out both her advanced scanner and an old rubber ball from her pocket. When she bounced the ball near the ship's hull, it curved in an impossible way. Look at that, she said to Tom. The space around the ship is warped. Their drive isn't just malfunctioning, it's leaking. The Lightweaver captain's energy form flickered in what they'd learned to recognize as surprise. How can you tell? Simple physics, Anne replied, still bouncing the ball and watching its path carefully. Sometimes the best way to understand complex problems is to watch how they affect simple things. Tom watched as Anne worked, combining human intuition with bits and pieces of alien technology they'd learned from their previous repairs. She used a bright star crystal to measure the light distortions, a rock shaper matrix to stabilize the energy flow, and most surprisingly, an old Earth mirror. The drive isn't sick, she explained as she worked. It's out of alignment, like a spine that needs adjustment. We can use the mirror to reflect its own energy back at the right angle, helping it remember its proper form. The repair took 6 hours, during which 3 more ships joined the crew outside. When they finished, the Lightweaver ship's hull had stopped its erratic swirling and settled into a smooth, peaceful flow. Amazing, the captain's light form pulsed brightly. Our own repair crews said it would take months to fix. Back in the control room, Tom found messages waiting from a dozen different space stations. They all wanted to know his secret. How was a primitive human station fixing problems that stumped the most advanced repair yards in the galaxy? It's because we're primitive, Anne said, reading over his shoulder. We had to learn to fix things before we had fancy automation. These advanced races, they skipped steps, went straight to the complex solutions without understanding the simple ones. Tom was about to respond when Jack called out again. Sir, priority message from the Galactic Council. The main screen lit up, showing a panel of various alien representatives. Their formal introduction was interrupted by a familiar face. Captain Blue. Station 47. Blue's pattern showed urgent concern. We need your help. A refugee fleet is coming your way. Thousands of ships, many damage. Their star went supernova without warning. Tom looked at the growing queue of ships already waiting for repairs, then at his small team. It should have been impossible. They should have said no. How long until they arrive? He asked instead. 3 days, Blue replied. I know it's too much to ask. We'll be ready, Tom said firmly. He turned to Anne, who who was already pulling out her toolkit. Get everyone together. If we're going to help thousands of ships, we're going to need to teach them to help themselves. As they began their preparations, Tom couldn't help but smile. Humans had always been at their best when faced with impossible challenges. Now they had a chance to prove that their primitive methods could save lives across the galaxy. The real test was about to begin. The refugee fleet appeared at the edge of Station 47's scanning range like a swarm of frightened birds. Tom counted over 2,000 ships of various sizes, many of them trailing debris or showing signs of severe damage. His heart sank when he saw how many had failing power signatures. Status report. He called out to his team, now expanded to include engineers from 3 different alien species who had stayed to learn human repair methods. First wave of critical cases incoming. Jack reported from his station. 15 ships with total power failure being touted by others. At least 30 more reporting life support problems. Anne rushed into the control room, her toolkit already strapped to her belt. The training bay is set up. We've got repair teams ready to deploy. The station's communication system crackled with hundreds of distress calls in different languages. The universal translators struggled to keep up with the flood of desperate voices. This is Fleet Commander Ray of the Star Cluster Civilization. A tired voice cut through the chaos. We've lost everything. Our home system, our repair facilities. Some ships are running on emergency power only. Tom took a deep breath. Commander, this is Tom Walker of Station 47. Direct your most critical cases to bays 1 through 5. The rest need to form an orderly line. We're going to help everyone, but we need order to do it. The next 12 hours became a blur of non-stop activity. Tom found himself moving from ship to ship, diagnosing problems that should have taken weeks to fix. But they didn't have weeks. In Bay 2, a ship's atmosphere was leaking through microfractures in its hull. Tom showed a group of refugee engineers how to detect the tiny cracks using soap bubbles, a technique that was ancient on Earth but amazingly effective. See how the bubble film bends. He demonstrated. That's your leak. Now watch. He pulled out a tube of nanoseal, a human invention that combined old-school epoxy with modern molecular bonding. Apply it like this, let it set for 5 minutes, and test again. In Bay 4, Anne was teaching another group how to bypass failed automated systems using manual controls. Your computers are too damaged to run self-repair, she explained, but the mechanical systems underneath still work. You just need to learn how to operate them directly. The station's resources were stretched to the breaking point. They had already used up 3 months' worth of supplies in half a day. But then something remarkable started happening. The aliens they'd helped earlier, the bright stars, rock shapers, and light weavers, began arriving with supplies and volunteers. Captain Blue's ship carried enough repair materials to service hundreds of vessels. The rock shapers brought their crystal technology, and the light weavers offered their energy manipulation skills. We learned from you, Blue told Tom during a brief rest break. Now we can help teach others. Tom watched as mixed teams of humans and aliens worked together, combining different technologies and techniques in ways never seen before. A rock shaper crystal powered a human portable generator, which in turn powered Lightweaver energy tools, all being used to repair a refugee ship's ancient backup systems. Sir, Jack called out suddenly. We've got 5 ships reporting core breaches. They're going critical. Tom looked at his exhausted team, then at the frightened faces of the refugee engineers they'd been training. It was time to put their lessons to the test. Everyone who's completed basic training, form teams of 4, he ordered. 1 human, 3 refugee engineers per team. We're going to fix those cores together. But one of the refugee engineers spoke up, their translator conveying their fear. We're not ready. We've only had a few hours of training. Tom smiled tiredly. Sometimes the best training happens when you have no choice but to succeed. Remember what we taught you. Listen to the machines. Trust your instincts, and don't be afraid to try simple solutions first. As the teams deployed to the failing ships, Tom knew they were about to find out if human ingenuity, combined with alien determination, could prevent a disaster. The next few hours would either prove that their methods worked at scale, or he pushed that thought aside. They had ships to save. 5 ships with failing cores, thousands of lives at risk, and barely enough resources to handle normal repairs. Tom watched from Station 47's control room as the mixed repair teams headed toward their targets. Each team carried a hodgepodge of tools: human, Bright Star, Rock Shaper, and Light Weaver technology, all jumbled together in makeshift repair kits. First team reporting in. Anne's voice crackled over the comm. She was leading the team approaching the largest failing ship. Core temperature rising. We've got maybe 20 minutes before critical failure. Tom keyed his comm. Remember your training. Start with the basics. What can you see, hear, and feel? Through the station's windows, he could see the 5 damaged ships glowing an ominous red. Their cores were overheating, the automated systems either dead or making things worse. The refugee fleet watched anxiously, thousands of ships hanging in space like a city of stars. Anne's team reached their target first. Her voice was steady as she reported, "Core housing is vibrating wrong. It's like a guitar string that's out of tune." Use the resonance detector, Tom guided. Find the frequency that matches the core's natural rhythm. In Bay 3, Jack had turned the maintenance area into an improvised manufacturing facility. Refugee engineers worked alongside station crew, rebuilding old tools and combining different technologies. A rock shaper engineer had discovered that their crystals could amplify the scanning power of human diagnostic tools. A light weaver showed how their energy manipulation could power human mechanical tools without need for batteries. Second team reporting success. The call came through. Core stabilizing. We used the crystal-enhanced scanners to find the problem. It was a simple misalignment in the cooling system. Third team here. We need help. Core temperature still rising. Tom grabbed his toolkit and a jetpack. Anne, can you handle your ship? Go, she replied. We've got this one figured out. These refugee engineers are learning fast. When Tom reached the third ship, he found the team struggling with a completely alien design. The core looked like nothing they'd seen before, but the principles, the basic physics of heat, energy, and motion, those were universal. Stop trying to understand their technology, Tom told the team. Focus on what the machine is telling you. Close your eyes. Feel the vibrations. Listen to the sounds. A young refugee engineer closed his eyes, placing his hand on the core housing. There's a flutter. Every third pulse. Good, that's your problem. The timing is off. Tom pulled out the makeshift repair kit. We can use the Lightweaver energy tools to adjust the pulse timing. Manual override, just like we practiced. Across all 5 ships, teams of humans and aliens worked together, applying their mixed knowledge to save lives. They didn't have enough proper replacement parts, so they improvised. A rock shaper crystal became a power regulator. Lightweaver energy tools served as emergency power sources. Human mechanical know-how tied it all together. Hours passed in a blur of activity. Finally, Anne's voice came through again. Last core stabilized. All ships secure. A cheer went up through the station and the refugee fleet. But Tom wasn't done yet. He gathered all the repair teams in the main bay. Good work, everyone, he said, looking at the tired but proud faces around him. But we're not finished. There are still hundreds of ships that need help. Now, who's ready to teach what they've learned to the next group? The refugee engineers stepped forward eagerly. They had seen firsthand how combining different approaches, human practical skills, Bright Star precision, rock shaper crystal tech, and Lightweaver energy manipulation could solve problems that seemed impossible. In the days that followed, Station 47 became more than a repair shop. It became a school. Everyone who learned the repair techniques taught others. The refugee fleet, which arrived broken and desperate, was transforming into a community of capable engineers. You know what you've started here, don't you? Captain Blue said to Tom as they watched a class of mixed species learning basic diagnostic techniques. Tom nodded. A revolution in how we fix things. Not just machines, but maybe how different species work together too. The station's comm system crackled. More ships approaching. Jack announced. They're asking for help and offering to learn. 3 months after the refugee crisis, Station 47 had changed beyond recognition. The original repair bays had been expanded with structures built from salvaged parts. Ships of every known species hung in neat rows around the station, their crews either learning or teaching. Tom was in the middle of a basic repair class when Jack's voice came over the station-wide comm. Emergency meeting. The Galactic High Council is here. The Council's ship was a sight to behold. A massive vessel that seemed to be made of light and precious metals. It docked with a precision that spoke of technology far beyond human understanding. In the main conference room, Tom found himself facing representatives from the 12 most advanced civilizations in known space. Their expressions ranged from curiosity to barely hidden skepticism. The head counselor, a tall being of pure energy contained in an ornate suit, spoke first. We have come to investigate the unusual reports about this station. Unusual reports? Anne asked, standing beside Tom. Claims that primitive human repair methods are somehow superior to our advanced automated systems. Another counselor said, their crystalline form glittering with what seemed like disapproval. Before Tom could respond, Captain Blue stepped forward. Their skin patterns showed strong confidence. I can testify to these claims. Their methods saved my ship when our best systems failed. And mine, added the rock shaper captain. Stone. The head counselor raised a hand for silence. We understand there are satisfied customers. But surely these are isolated incidents. The refugee crisis reports must be exaggerated. No primitive manual repairs could possibly handle problems of that scale. Tom smiled. Would you like a demonstration? He led the council members on a tour of the station. In Bay 1, they watched a class where beings from 5 different species learned to diagnose engine problems using nothing but their senses and simple tools. Notice how they're working together, Tom pointed out. Rock shaper crystal technology combined with light weaver energy manipulation, all guided by human mechanical knowledge. We're not replacing advanced technology. We're teaching people to understand how it works at the most basic level. In Bay 4, Anne was teaching the group how to repair quantum drives using modified Earth tools. A broken drive hummed back to life under the careful work of a refugee engineer who, just months ago, had known nothing about repairs. Impossible, one counselor muttered. That drive design is classified. How do they even understand its principles? Because underneath all our different technologies, the basic laws of physics are the same, Anne explained. Energy, matter, motion. They work the same way everywhere. We just help people learn to see those patterns. The tour ended at the station's new training center, where hundreds of beings from dozens of species practiced repairs together. The council watched as a young human showed a group of advanced AI beings how to detect problems through touch and sound, while nearby, a light weaver taught others how to manipulate energy fields by hand. This is more than a repair station, the head counselor finally said. You've created something unprecedented, a place where different species learn from each other's strengths. Tom nodded. We all have something to teach and something to learn. Humans might be primitive by your standards, but sometimes you need to understand the basics before you can truly master the advanced stuff. The council members conferred quietly among themselves. When they turned back, their demeanor had changed. Station 47. The head counselor announced formally. The Galactic Council hereby recognizes your contribution to interstellar cooperation and technological advancement. We would like to establish similar training centers across the galaxy. Under human supervision, of course. Another counselor added quickly. It seems we have much to learn from your primitive wisdom. As the council members left to draft their official recognition, Captain Blue approached Tom. You've changed things, you know. The way species think about technology, about each other. Tom watched a group of refugee children learning basic tool use from an elderly rock shaper. Nearby, a bright star engineer was showing humans how their crystalline technology worked at its most fundamental level. "Maybe that's what we humans do best," he said. "We don't just fix machines. We help people understand them. And in understanding them, we understand each other a little better too." The station's comm system crackled again. "More ships requesting permission to dock," Jack announced. "They're here to learn." Tom smiled. The revolution had only just begun. 5 years after the Galactic Council's visit, Tom stood at the window of his new office in the Interspecies Engineering Academy. The old Station 47 was still visible at the heart of what had become a sprawling complex of repair bays, training centers, and research facilities. "Ready for the graduation ceremony?" Anne asked, entering his office. She now served as the Academy's head instructor, teaching the combined wisdom of a dozen species to students from across the galaxy. "Just thinking about how it all started," Tom replied. "One broken bright starship, looking for help in the middle of nowhere." The graduation hall was packed with beings from hundreds of different worlds. Where once there had been separation and suspicion between species, now there was cooperation and shared purpose. In the front row, Tom spotted Captain Blue, whose pattern showed pride, and Stone, whose crystalline form glowed warmly. Tom stepped up to the podium, looking out at the graduating class. Each student wore the simple gray uniform of the Academy, with their species' traditional symbols added as badges of honor. "When I first started fixing ships," he began, "I never imagined I'd be standing here. Back then, most advanced species thought humans were too primitive to understand their technology. Maybe we were, but we understood something more important, the basic principles that make things work." He gestured to the hall's walls, where tools from every known civilization hung alongside simple human wrenches and diagnostic devices. "Look around you. Every species here has contributed to our knowledge. Bright star crystal technology, rock shaper energy manipulation, light weaver quantum mechanics, combined with human practical experience. We didn't just learn from each other, we created something new together." In the audience, Tom saw some of his first students, refugee engineers who had learned repairs during that desperate crisis 5 years ago. Many now ran their own repair stations across the galaxy, teaching others the combined wisdom they had learned. Today, you graduate not just as repair technicians, but as teachers. You'll go out into the galaxy carrying something precious, not just the knowledge of how to fix things, but the understanding that every species, no matter how advanced or primitive, has something valuable to teach. The ceremony continued with the presentation of diplomas. Data crystals containing the combined repair knowledge of 20 different species. Each graduate had specialized in their own species' technology, while learning the basics of all others. After the ceremony, Tom walked through the Academy's main repair bay with Captain Blue and Stone. They watched as new students practiced basic diagnostics using their natural senses before moving on to advanced tools. "Did you ever imagine this?" Stone asked, gesturing at a young rock shaper learning human mechanical principles while teaching crystal harmonics to a human student. "Not in my wildest dreams," Tom admitted. "But it makes sense. The universe runs on basic principles: energy, matter, motion. Once you understand those, all technology is just a different way of using them." An emergency alert sounded. A ship with engine trouble requesting permission to dock. Tom watched with pride as a mixed team of graduates rushed to help, carrying tools from various species along with simple human diagnostic equipment. "You know what the best part is," Anne said, joining them. "Every ship that comes here for repairs leaves with not just fixed systems, but with new knowledge. The old barriers between species are breaking down, one repair job at a time." The Academy's communication system crackled with a familiar voice. Jack, still running communications after all these years. "Message from the Galactic Council, Tom. 3 more worlds want to build engineering academies. They're requesting human instructors." Tom smiled, watching the repair team efficiently diagnose and fix the damaged ship using a combination of techniques from multiple species. This was humanity's real contribution to the galaxy, not advanced technology or powerful weapons, but the simple wisdom of understanding how things worked at their most basic level, and the willingness to share that knowledge with others. You know what they're calling this era in galactic history. Captain Blue's patterns showed amusement. The human touch. Because you taught us all that sometimes the simplest solution is the best solution. Outside the Academy's windows, ships of all kinds waited patiently for their turn to learn the human way of fixing things. The revolution that had started with one broken ship and a simple repair station had become a movement that was changing the galaxy, one lesson at a time. And it had all started because humans never forgot the importance of understanding the basics.